The birthplace of the Bohemian Revolution from KWAY 591 Studios. This is the Steve Brown Arts Center Podcast Network with producer Blake Tempus. I'm Jim Gillespie and with co-host Dale Rueber, and this is Jesup News for February 12th.
Yes.
Where did the time go?
I mean, really.
2024. We're the Monday after the Super Bowl.
The most important thing about February is not to invite your sweetheart and your wife to the same party. You gotta be careful.
I never liked St. Valentine.
Yeah. He's a very expensive little guy.
He is.
Can be. Not for me, of course, but for several people I know, they put it all out there for Valentine's Day.
I've been booking guests, Dale, and nobody wants to come on Valentine's Day.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Well,
I hope you don't have a date that night.
No, actually, I'm going to be gone. Is that next Wednesday? I'm going to be in Johnston next week. I have to skip next week.
All right.
I'm sorry.
The number 20 girls team in the state is in Johnston.
Yeah, they are.
In the nation, I should say.
Yeah, they are very good. They have a lot of good sports teams out of Johnston for some reason.
Right.
I don't know. Grandson, when he went to kindergarten in Johnston, he was in a class of 550. So they got a lot of kids to choose from when they get up to high school as far as teams go. And, I can't imagine. Can you?
I can't imagine.
I kind of say I'd like to be in the basketball teams. Well, we need 5, and we got 4,000 boys to choose from. So good luck, Charlie.
Tonight's show was brought to you by KWAY 591 here on Young Street in Jesup, Bobby Leach and Farm Bureau Financial Services, Jacobson Fabrication and Repair, Innovative Wealth Management here in Jesup, Derek's Repair Shop, LLC. Derek's been around since the first podcast.
Okay.
And the birth of the world, is, as we say. I'll never forget Derek's story out at Littleton Chatham Historical Society out there.
Yep.
Moving story.
Should we remember Mr. Polk has a little store on Young Street down here. He's been on our podcast, and every time I go by, he got a little bit more. He got a flag out. He got a couple of different more signs and everything. So it looks like he's really trying hard. So,
and I have an announcement from them actually. They have karaoke Friday the 16th of this week.
We should go and sing a song.
We should go if we're not at a basketball game.
That's probably true. That's a basket right in the middle of it, isn't it? Yeah.
And then they are also going to have Cowboy Church at 6 p.m. And karaoke is Friday the 16th. And they're going to have Cowboy Church at 6 p.m. that night as well.
Oh, okay, on the 16th as well. Okay.
And the 16th as well is how I take this. And then Saturday, February 24th, karaoke from 2 until 5.
Okay.
So that's to the Pokes. But you're right, we need to get down there and sing a song. Besides Derek's, a bakery in Lawrence, Kansas called M&M's Bakery.
Okay.
Run by Andy Boniface Martin and her family is a great supporter to us. Rhea's Concrete in Littleton and a Littleton Diner. Okay. As we set our sights on Watermelon Day, July 27th of 2024.
Okay. Now, someone told me there's a little bakery now in the old grocery store building. Have you been down there to see that, or?
I was talking to Jason Thompson today at the chamber meeting. Although she's doing stuff at home and taking it to the bakery because she's still installing stuff.
Okay.
The bakery is open, but she doesn't have her coffee makers yet and stuff like that.
Well,
so
all right.
You and I can't go get coffee.
No, wait a minute. Are those the new doors like on the west side there?
That was the new doors on the west side. Jason said and I hope I'm not saying things out of school here, but Jason said he is actually working at putting a laundromat in there.
Oh, okay. So the regular doors on the other side then will be where the bakery is inside the or something.
Where the bakery is, and then there's also a physical therapy.
Yeah, I knew that.
Yeah.
And I see in Independence on the corner, right across from the bridge. I can't think of the name of but there was a little article about a new bakery going in there. And I know that I think it's a Christensen from Jesup. He and his wife have opened a bakery in Oldwine.
Oh, really?
Maybe it's just Christian. I'll be wrong. Wouldn't know what I was saying. And for a while there, I thought, well, nobody's going to eat baked goods anymore. Donuts are on their way out and everything. And now they're making a comeback. See, so
well, at Chamber today, a lady that works throughout the county was talking about there were no bakeries for a long time in the county except for Amish bakeries.
Yeah, I think that's true. I do. Yeah.
And now all of a sudden Gedney's is open on the corner
Gedney's,
there.
that's it. Yeah, okay.
And the one here in town is opening. She came in and actually talked about that meeting that you and I went to about community development, and talked about the grants that people could get.
Okay.
And what they, basically talked about what they talked about at a meeting, had a report for that written out.
Yeah.
Anyhow, let's go on. Let's go to as far as tonight on tonight's show. We talk about winners and losers. We talk about remember betting here on the Steve Brown Arts Center is purely for entertainment purposes only. It is not for your advice. If you take our advice, well, you need to call 1-800-BETS-OFF.
Someone else will own your house after Super Bowl.
That's right. We have library news. We have a special guest from KWAY Radio in Waverly. Taylor Nitz is his name, and he knows high school sports and does a super job of talking about sports throughout our area. And
now, is he the farthest away guy we've had?
Him or Mike Sorensen? When Mike Sorensen came from Sumner Fred.
Okay, we'll have to figure that out, won't we?
Yeah,
So,
we will.
Okay.
We will. Both of them are very entertaining gentlemen.
Yep.
And then we will talk about we have one obituary, and we will get you out of here tonight.
Okay.
So, got to thank Emily Bauer for last week's show. She was incredible.
Very good singer.
Music that I enjoyed, and
the room gradually she started and wasn't 20 minutes or so, and there was a nice little crowd there.
Yeah.
And that's a wonderful facility. I had no idea how much space was in that. It's the American Legion Hall, I think. How much space is in there? If you need a venue for something, I don't know who do you contact over there, but would be a very nice place to hold quite a few people.
Thirsty Thursdays, they call that night.
Yeah.
Emily was from a former graduate of Wapsie Valley, but her and her husband now live in Omaha. So hopefully later in the summer we are going to have her at one of our events over in Independence.
Yeah, because I think it was in August they said she would be back doing something at Fairbank, and then she's going to do something for us. And
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That would be great.
So let's get after it here, Dale. Let's talk about winners and losers. Let's start with you. Who's a winner for the week?
This week I thought the winners were the people of Iowa. We've talked about this a little bit before, where Governor Reynolds came out with this plan for the AEAs, and almost immediately there was enough negative feedback to her and other politicians that she really backed down an awful long way, which I never thought she would do. And so I don't think anything's been settled, but it looks to me like the AEAs are going to keep functioning the way they have been functioning, unless something drastic happens, But she got lots and lots of people coming in and talking to her and to their legislators, and so she backed down on that pretty quick. So I was glad to see that. So I think the people of Iowa will be much better off if those AEAs are allowed to function without a lot of interference from Des Moines.
Is the law going to be passed that talked about singing the national anthem at the start of every
all
every
that
class?
stuff was in committee and out of committee, and so nothing has gone to the full. But they're just looking at things in committees and passing things out of committees. And I'm trying to think now. There's another one came up today that they say the school should do this and the school should do that. You cannot. Teaching is a very personal thing, and it's human interaction. And if you're trying to go by a script that Des Moines sent you, it's not going to work. And I don't care what they say. So I don't know. They're still talking about, and they talk about like all 4 verses. And I have read all 4 verses, but you only sing the first one.
Right.
There are, I think, but I've read the 4 verses, but they do not convey. How I want to say this. The first verse is the one you want to pay attention to if you're for America, I guess, is my opinion. So.
And they're also pushing in committee having a chaplain in every school in Iowa.
Oh, is that right?
It's actually the wording is a school can choose to have can have a chaplain in their school.
Is it a Christian chaplain or?
No, well that is. I'm not sure.
Somebody has the law that you cannot put up a memorial or a display. There was all that trouble with the one.
Yeah, I remember that.
Well, now somebody has a law that you cannot, that they're proposing that you cannot put up any kind of, I won't say memorial, but display honoring Satan. And so I heard a guy on public radio the other day, and he was saying that his religious tenets tell him that he has to believe in hell. So he says, I believe in hell, but I don't believe there's any people down there. That's how he gets away from, And I thought, well, I had never thought of that, but that's an interesting way of thinking about it. So anyway, if you read anything, any country throughout history where the religious people have run the country, it's never gone well. And it just doesn't do it. Like the Puritans came over here to Massachusetts, and because they wanted freedom of religion, as soon as they got here, they said, okay, our religion is the only religion, and that was it. So there went freedom of religion right away, but they were having their religion. And, it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. The Iran, where they have a parliament and a president, but then they have a Khomeini, Ayatollah, that says, if he doesn't like it, then beep, it's gone, And so, why not just make the guy king and get rid of all this other stuff? And you run into all kinds of trouble. So I think the framers wanted religion out of government, and I think some of these uber Christians are trying to push religion and have them be the same, where the government will support our religion. And that's not the way to have a free country, in my opinion. Yes.
Thank you.
I don't want to speak for the Steve Brown Art Center, but in my opinion, it's not going to go.
The winner for me are the men and women on the emergency services of Jesup. They do a great job. They included us on their first Sunday breakfast down at the emergency services hall, and they let us have an art show down there, serving about 300 people. We were able to show four artists, which is good, very good for us in front of 300 people. I can't thank people like James Mastella and Zach Knutson, Andy Trumbauer, the ambulance service that does so much for us. And, we are so lucky. It's a big deal here in Jesup. And Dale, you think about those, many of those were students that we had at some time of our life. And that it always makes me feel really, really good to see those kids that are Jesup kids that went through Jesup school, and they've stayed around, and they're not just living and working, but they are volunteering for things like that. And it's a great feeling to see them, see kids that that are now firemen or working for the ambulance and this sort of thing. So, no, I think it's great. So who'd you have for loser?
Well, I had Donald Trump. I think Donald Trump is a loser. And it really got me because he, after this last primer where he said, okay, anybody that donating to Nikki Haley's campaign, then he's going to get after him one way or the other, threatening them. And I said, geez, that's not the way this is supposed to work. You're supposed to do the best you can, let the other person do the best they can, and let the people decide. And that's how it works. And instead of threatening people with adverse action against them if they go against you. And so anyway, I know I probably read you too many letters to the editor, but I found a nice one. It's in the Sunday Courier. And this is a lady, Jean Ann Waskow. And she says, I like President Biden, not only for all the positive things he has accomplished for our country, but for what he is not. And this is where I get. He has not been indicted. He does not have 91 felony counts against him. He has not been convicted of sexual abuse. He did not steal top secret and classified documents and refuse to return them to the National Archives. He did not illegally inflate his company's worth. He did not promote a seditious attack to overthrow our government. He did not ask an official to find 12,000 some votes. He did not pay a porn star $130,000 to hush her up before the election or sleep with her while his wife was pregnant. He did not ask a foreign leader to find dirt on a political opponent or he would withhold defense money. He is not a scab and appear at non-union hall during last year's UAW strike. He is not a serial liar. He did not lie or distort 22,000 times in 4 years and lie 25 to 30 times every time he held rallies. He is not a racist. He did not tell Nazi hate group Proud Boys to attack the Capitol. And I say he is not calling the Congress, the Republican buddies in the Congress, and saying, essentially, don't do anything that would make Biden look good. In other words, bring the country to a halt for my benefit. And I thought, you should teach sportsmanship to kids, talk about being a good sport. You know, you win with dignity, you lose with dignity. You do not hold it against the person who beat you because that's what they were there for. When you play, you get in a game, you got a 50% chance of losing. You got to accept that and play the game. And he should have run for office with a knowledge that there was a 50% chance he would lose, and he just will not accept it. And he's not a good sport. He's a whiner, and I always hated whiners that whine about losing or whine because this is not right and that's not right. So anyway, I think almost every week, if you ask me who I think is a loser, I think Donald Trump is a loser. And if you had the resume like Mrs. Waskow wrote out here, you think you get hired to do anything? So I don't understand why people support him. I'm sorry, but I don't. If you want to write me a letter and explain it, I would be glad to read it because I don't understand why anybody would want this man to be president of the United States or hold any public office. So anyway, there's my preachy loser.
Okay.
I was going to say something else, but I better say loser.
My loser for the week is Sports Illustrated. When I was in high school, I can remember, and we wouldn't order it at home, but the high school library would get Sports Illustrated in on every Thursday.
Yeah, it was a weekly.
Yeah, weekly, and it was a big deal. And it was not too long ago that it was probably the most elite magazine of our country, or one of them, along with Time and Life, obviously, as went away to the internet here. They got in trouble for much of their writing being AI writing here most recently, and they laid off something like 4,000 employees this past week. And so Sports Illustrated is, as we know it, Dale, from our youth, is dying.
Yeah.
And that's a big loss, not only for me and you, but for our country. And there's a reason Jesup doesn't have a newspaper anymore. There's a reason that things like Sports Illustrated are no longer open, that people can go to their phone
Yeah.
and actually watch things as well as read about things.
I just finished reading a Sports Illustrated magazine from 1981. It had Christy Brinkley on the cover as a young woman. So, but anyway, what was interesting to me was there was a full-page ad, and it's an inside front cover, and then the back cover, and then inside also, of beautiful women or sports people or whatever smoking cigarettes and selling cigarettes, and how wonderful they were. And that is something that I'm glad to see has changed, but it was just still kind of a shock to see. This used to be normal. You know, people trying to sell cigarettes to Sports Illustrated readers, who were a lot of them were kids like you and me, and they didn't have some old grizzly guy with wrinkles and brown fingers and this sort of thing. They had beautiful, beautiful girls, or handsome, virile sports stars or whatever in the pictures, and that's where they used to sell cigarettes to kids. And was interesting how that affected me, seeing that pop out, because you're not used to seeing that anymore in anything you read. So I think that's a good thing they got rid of those ads. But it was very interesting to read the articles about Ralph Sampson was playing college ball, then a big article about him, and about Ralph Miller, who coached at Iowa basketball, was coaching out in Oregon State. And the article was about how he had the best team in the state and how he's a grumpy old man and all these young kids were playing for him, and interesting. And so it was very, I don't know, I found it very amusing to read this magazine. So.
Next week, I will have a story from Sports Illustrated about a local high school girls basketball team that had a 10-page article in Sports Illustrated in 1988, I believe it was.
Okay.
From Sports Illustrated.
All right.
But let's go on. The Super Bowl was yesterday for those of you listening. But we're taping this prior to the Super Bowl. Those of you that understand, betting has taken over our country, and DraftKings and the like.
Becoming a real problem. 60 Minutes about addiction to sports betting, young kids under 35, losing their college tuition money, spending the family inheritance, really betting thousands of times a day, making thousands of bets. It's just and so it's like everything else is going to be a problem for a lot of people.
When the automobile was born, they didn't see the issue with pollution, with junk cars and speeding and deaths. They saw it as a quick way to move around. Well, let's go to the prop sheets and let's make our bets, Dale.
Okay, and then you want me to keep the sheets and then we'll see who won?
Please, if you would.
Okay, now we can't bet any money on this, but it's just enough to know if you're the winner, right?
Yes, it is. This is from Syracuse.com is where this comes from, this particular prop sheet, and we will, although there are 25 bets, and Dale and I will cover 25. We'll only talk about half a dozen of them for air purposes.
All right.
So the first one, Reba singing the national anthem, Dale. Will she be over or under 90 and a half seconds?
Well, I think over, because usually those national anthem singers, they love their moment in the sun and they drag it out as long as they can. And so I will bet she'll be over.
Now, I did a little research on this.
Oh, you cheated.
I listened to a couple podcasts is what I did.
Okay.
And they were talking about Reba is a fairly quick singer.
Okay.
And they see her done around 70 seconds. Okay. I mean, if she's done that fast, that would be amazing. So I'm under.
You're under. Okay.
I'm under. Let's go to question number 5. The first offensive play of the game, Dale, will it be a run or a pass?
Almost always it's a run, so I chose run.
And I went with a run as well.
Okay.
So, and I will give you my sheet, so you don't have to mark it down.
Okay.
I'll give you my sheet.
All right.
Let's go to question number 9. Who will the first accepted penalty be against?
Okay, I think it'll be a Kansas City. They sometimes have trouble getting plays off and also with movement on the line and everything. So I would bet it'll be Kansas City.
A little on discipline. I agree with you there. I have Kansas City as well.
All right.
Okay. Let's go to local boy. Let's go to number 12, passing yards for Brock Purdy, the former Iowa State quarterback. Will he be over or under 247 and a half yards?
Yeah. I love how the gamblers put those halves in there. It saves them a lot. I put under. I think both these teams have excellent defenses, and so I think it'll be under.
I had Finally, we disagree.
All right.
I have him over 247 and a half. Although
Okay.
you're right, Kansas City's defense is pretty handy.
So how about you do 13 then with Mahomes? Or
All right, you want to go to 13, Patrick Mahomes. You have him over or under 262 and a half.
I had him under also for the same reason. So
Okay. And I do have him under as well for 262 and a half yards.
all right.
Let's go to team with the longest touchdown, number 19.
I chose Kansas City mainly because Mahomes can run like he does, and so
Okay.
I chose that.
So here you go. Did you know there is a prop bet, and it's not on here. There is the quarterback prop bet of how many yards the quarterback gets. So usually the quarterback will run one time and get like a 14-yard gain or something.
Yeah. Do they deduct the sack yardage and he loses, or
What they do deduct is when they kneel down at the end of the game.
Yeah.
So that's a 1 yard loss every time. So if they kneel down 3 times, that's 3 yard loss.
yeah.
And yes, they deduct sacks as well.
I'm sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Those
Okay.
boys know what they're doing.
They do. They've taken a lot of people's money over the years. Let's go to 24. The color of the Gatorade, Dale.
See, I thought that was a stupid question, and I said, well, red, pink, or well, I had to choose any other color. I don't know how many colors there are, but I chose any other color. You think it'll be red, or is it usually red?
The Chiefs Gatorade is red. The 49ers sort of has a pinkish hue about their uniforms. That's why. Here you go. Here's the problem, and I thought about this. If we can get to the equipment managers of those teams,
Yep.
we could win some big money on
We need
that.
to hire Tom Brady to do that for us.
Yes,
see?
we could. Yes, we could. All right. 25. A position of the MVP. Is it going to be the quarterback or one of the other positions?
See, if the 49ers win, there's several people on that squad that could be. If Kansas City wins, almost for sure, it would be Mahomes. Because I know Kelsey catches the ball, but somebody's got to throw it to him. And so Mahomes, so statistically, you choose any other position, but I chose the quarterback because the quarterback is almost always the MVP. So,
That's I like your reasoning, but Taylor Swift, and I'm telling
is she going to get it?
I'm
The MVP? So,
I'm telling Blake when he markets this podcast to make sure for the hit purposes on the podcast, put Taylor Swift in our line, because if people put Taylor Swift in,
she may not be there.
well,
They are having trouble finding enough parking spaces for the private jets, and she'll be getting there towards the end of things, and they may not find a place to park her private jet, so she may have to go to Denver or something. So
that should have been a scandal. that could be a scandal, because there is rumor that it would cost $20,000 for Taylor Swift to fly her private jet from Japan.
yeah,
And there's rumor that the NFL would pay her to come, interview her at halftime. CBS would love it. It would be big money for people tuning in to the Super Bowl
yeah.
and the NFL. But I hadn't heard parking space, but I
Yeah.
guarantee you,
They say there's 100 of them, 100 private jets, and they never expected to have to park that many of them. So
Wow.
if she gets there last, why she may have to double park.
She might have to.
And I saw something where about Taylor. She's worth like $1.1 billion or something. So I think she really worries about how much it's going to cost her to fly. But all the pollution, though, people are talking about that. The private jets kick out a lot of pollution, and so they were after her for that. But then somebody said, "Yeah, but can you imagine her just going to the airport and waiting in the lounge to get on the plane? That's not going to work either. That's going to cost them more than." So they thought people like her probably need to fly their private jet.
so back to the winner or
I'm
the
sorry.
position. No,
I
it's
get
been
you
a
off
good
track. Yeah,
argument.
okay.
The position of the MVP. You say a quarterback. The NFL is bringing in all these young female fans with Taylor Swift now. Mm-hmm. And if they fly her in and Kelsey wins the MVP, it will be off the chart.
Maybe he'll propose on the 50-yard line.
Oh,
wouldn't that be something?
That would be
You want
incredible.
to bet on that?
I will take the under on that. No, I don't see that happening. But
Wow.
yeah,
They probably have to get married in Arrowhead Stadium, and
I will take. I'll take any other position.
okay.
So,
Well, that's statistically, that's the safest bet.
yeah, yes, it is. Yes, it is.
But I just want I thought about this stuff long and hard.
I know you did.
And
I can tell.
so-
Please tune in next week and hear how we did in our prop bets.
I'm going to have to pay attention now
Well,
to these things.
I'm going to have to call Sparky and get a loan for these bets, but Blake, make sure, please, as you prepare the explanation of our podcast this week, that you include Taylor Swift in that explanation, because it's going to get us hits. All right, please do that. Not that we're worried about listeners, but if you're not listening, or tell a friend, or if you are listening, tell a friend, click follow, and then click follow again, click thumbs up. Please recognize us. Remember, this show, one of our great sponsors of this show is Derek's Repair Shop, LLC. Derek has been very kind to us, and we want to make sure that Derek gets work down there. I know he details, and his spring comes on here, and it's coming fast, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, yes, so here already.
Yeah, make sure that you get your car detailed by Derek, please.
If you see a robin, give us a call, because any day now I expect to see him in the yard. And so it gets me to talk about like Taylor Swift or advertising. Like Channel 7 lately has been running some nice ads about how great their weather department is.
Yeah.
But they only show these ads during the Channel 7 news. So the people they're showing the ad to are people that are already watching them. Why don't they try to get an ad on Channel 2 telling how good their weather is and try to steal some viewers?
Yes,
Because what good does it do to advertise to people that are already...
This is the Steve Brown Arts Center Podcast Network, and I'm Jim Gillespie with co-host Dale Rueber and producer Blake Tempus, and we're here tonight with Taylor Nitz from KWAY Radio in Waverly. Taylor, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's wonderful to have you. I enjoy reading your posts and listening to you on the radio, and see you at games. I saw you at Dunkerton last night.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to come over and bother you. You don't want to be bothered during the games.
No,
so
I don't mind it if you do, but sometimes I'm focused in on the game and I might not even notice you're around.
yeah, that's what I figured. So tell us, how long have you been at KWAY?
I believe I'm in my 7th year at KWAY. There I started in the summer season covering softball. I do Waverly Shawrock softball in the summers, and then I when they've got a night off, I get out and do an area softball or baseball game, and then in the falls do volleyball and football, and in the winter do girls and boys basketball, and then in the spring do soccer.
Wow. During the day, are you in the studio then?
Yep. I co-host the morning show on Y99.3, and I also solo host a morning show on KWAY Country, AM 1470, FM 96.3. and then I also host sort of the afternoons. Where it's less of a show at that point, and just sort of I'm kind of the guide that kind of takes you through the afternoon, playing some music for you.
So you do this 5 days a week, or
Monday through Friday. Yeah.
Anybody else work there? Or?
Yeah, Matt Ray is who I co-host the morning show with. He's great. He's really even a bigger part of KWAY than I am, and he covers Waverly Shell Rock sports more so. That's kind of his beat, and I get out and cover the there's 9 smaller schools around us that I get to cover. But we co-host the morning shows together, and then we've got a sales guy too, Scott Soar. He's got if you're looking to advertise on KWAY Radio, and I think you should. I think everybody should get a hold of Scott.
So who's the owner of KWAY? Is it locally owned?
So yeah, it is locally owned. Yeah, Al Soar is the guy that owns it, and Scott is his son, and they sort of handle both handle that task, I should say. Is Al is started to kind of step away just a little bit, and Scott's kind of starting to take over that role. But yeah, he's owned it. It's been in the Soar family for 40 years now.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it's great.
How much area does it cover?
So it covers Soar and Waverly. That's where we're based out of, and it reaches down to Waterloo, Cedar Falls. It sort of swings out to Fairbank and up to Sumner and Nashua, and then over into Butler County, kind of in that kind of range.
How'd you get into radio? I mean,
it's kind of an interesting thing. I've loved radio my entire life. I've always listened to baseball is really what got me into radio initially. I love listening to a baseball game on the radio. There's nothing better. I absolutely adore it. And I used to deliver papers early in the morning with my dad, and he'd always have the radio on, and we were listening to that. And so that's kind of where my love began with radio. And I am an introverted person by nature, and so the fact that I can just kind of be in a room by myself, but also talk about sports or whatever it is that I want to talk about is quite alluring to me. And so it seemed like a really cool thing, but I just wasn't sure. When I was in college, I wasn't sure if I would actually be able to do it. I certainly didn't think that I was entertaining enough to do it, but I really liked it. And wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, she mentioned that her coworker, her husband worked at a radio station, and they had an opening, and thought maybe I should apply, and so I did. And so Scott, who ended up being my now wife's co-worker's husband.
Okay.
Yeah, I got a good word in there. And in fact, Scott's wife is from the same hometown as me as well, and vouched for me a little bit, and so that's how I got the job.
And did you do anything special? What was your degree in?
So I went to Iowa, and I got a degree in sports studies with a minor in American studies.
Okay, and nothing like with communication or speech class or anything like that.
No, and in fact, if I could go back, I definitely would. There's a great student radio at the University of Iowa. I should have gotten involved with that, but I didn't while I was there because I just wasn't confident enough in myself at that point. But the sports studies major, it is very closely tied to journalism, and so those were all sort of the classes that I was taking with. In fact, most of the classes that I was in were filled by either other journalist type students or the athletes, which I also found kind of cool while I was there.
Well, I've always been impressed with radio guys because they can sneak in commercials. Just 10-second all through their broadcast, when they're doing a game or whatever, that you don't need those long pauses that they give you, like in television, that you guys can just get them in. Yeah. And I was like, well, everybody ought to do that and keep the things going a little better. So I thought maybe you took a class on how to do that or something.
No.
Well, speak of one of our sponsors, KWAY 591 Studios here in Jesup, Iowa. Kelly was asking me who you pattern your broadcasting pattern after. Who's your favorite broadcaster, and who do you see yourself?
It's an interesting question, and I'm not sure that there's anybody in particular that I pattern my style after, at least not intentionally. But I grew up as an Iowa fan, and so Gary Dolphin was that's kind of who I grew up with. And so I suppose I'm sure he's probably had the biggest impact on me as far as play-by-play goes. I think he's great. And Pat, I've just forgotten his last name, the play-by-play guy for the Cubs. He's in there too. It's probably those two are the ones that have had the biggest impact on me. But I do sort of at least think of myself as kind of being unique individual and kind of having hopefully my own style.
Have you ever, there was not Kurt Gowdy?
Yeah,
probably I think he's dead now.
He might be.
Yeah, but he was once saying that young people ask him, what's the most important thing about broadcasting on radio, and he says, give the score.
Yes,
constantly give the score, because people tune in and they want to know what the score is.
That's exactly right.
And I know I've found games that I was. And wait. I say, okay, what's the score? And they don't. So I always think that's very good advice, is to constantly give the score.
It's great. Yeah, that is huge. Time and score are the most important. And I probably need to do it more often, need to do a better job of getting that stuff in. But you're exactly right, because people are coming in and going all throughout that broadcast. And so they maybe didn't hear the last time that you said it. Yeah, that's a great point.
Do you find basketball, because it's fast-paced, easier or harder than something like baseball?
I mean, baseball, I think, is made for radio, and I think those two are just a perfect marriage. And so I would say that the baseball is the easiest to do on radio, but I do like basketball too. You mentioned the sort of the fast pace of it. So like once you get into that rhythm as a play-by-play guy, it's nice to keep that rhythm going. A sport like volleyball is almost too fast. Like it's really, volleyball is probably of the sports that I do, volleyball is probably the toughest one. Just because, I mean, on radio you've got to paint the picture of what's going on, and that ball's moving around pretty quickly.
I'll ask. And again, basketball, like pregame, is it imperative to you? Do you try to memorize names and numbers before the game starts because it moves so fast? Is it helpful? Or
the sooner you can do it, certainly the better. And if it's a team that's not a team that I cover or that I've not seen in a particular year, I do try to get it picked up pretty quickly. Exactly who, especially that starting five, because obviously they're the ones that are likely to be in there most of the game. Yeah. So if I can get those guys down, memorized, then that's good. And so usually I'll start with the program in my hand so I can look at it. But I try to put that down as soon as I can, because otherwise I feel like my brain becomes a bit, it relies on that paper a little bit. So the quicker that you can get it memorized, the better, for sure.
Yeah. I heard a comedian imitating Harry Carey. Yeah. And he said, this is Harry Carey doing basketball. And so the tip-off guy shoots, scores 2-0. Then he starts telling a story like he always did in baseball. Oh, and that's the half, 42-30. Said he never would have made it as a basketball announcer. Yeah. So
you're talking baseball, and I've got a cousin, Blake Mitchell. He graduated down by Houston. Okay. And he was the Royals' #1 choice. I think he was 6th or 7th in last year's draft. Okay. And so he'd probably be 19 this year. He's probably 19 now. He would have played late in the year in the Arizona League last year. Sure. And they're talking about him being the starting catcher with the Royals already this year now. It'd be interesting. You get a chance. I know you're a baseball man. You get a chance to look up Blake Mitchell. He's drafted by the Royals. So,
okay, that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's incredible.
I'm looking forward to tickets as well.
That's right. Maybe the two of you could drive down and he could interview.
That would be fun.
That would be awesome.
That would be.
Expense accounts.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
This is like Northeast Iowa. The conference is breaking up in little pieces. Do you know what Waverly's going to do?
Not entirely. They're going to be independent, at least for a season. They're hoping that they can get into the WAMAC. That's the best. That'd be the best fit for them.
That's Independence and those teams, right?
Right.
And, Centerpoint. Okay.
Yeah, and then so They've tried already to get into the WAMAC. WAMAC rejected that. However, Clear Creek Amana is currently in the WAMAC. They're getting very big, and most certainly will move to the Mississippi Valley Conference at some point in the next few years. And so the thought is, by me and I think a lot of other people, is that when Clear Creek Amana makes that jump, it would make a lot of sense for Waverly Shell Rock to move into that spot.
Sure.
And to go on, the Northeast Iowa Conference is imploding as we speak.
Yeah.
I see that the superintendents voted yesterday to accept Crestwood into the Upper Iowa Conference. And if I read right somewhere, and it was late when I was reading this, they voted not to take Decorah.
Yep, so Crestwood is going into the Upper Iowa Conference, and I believe that invitations have been sent out to Waukon and New Hampton as well from the Upper Iowa Conference, but Decorah was denied. For good reason. They're massive compared to the other Upper Iowa schools.
Because they're a 3A school, right?
Yeah. Decorah's 3A, and a school like West Central, who's in the Upper Iowa Conference, they've got beds, which is the enrollment from 9 to 11th grade, and West Central's is like 50 kids, and Decorah's is 3-4 times that at least. So it'd be weird, but Decorah. They just don't have any options where they are geographically. There's just nobody else really that they could go with that makes sense travel wise, and nobody that makes sense size wise. So we'll see. Decorah is in a very interesting situation. I just don't think there's a good option for them.
If you guys remember, and you may be too young to remember this, Taylor, but at one time, the Upper Iowa Conference was a big and small school conference, and had it divided. And if the state, and I can see the state forcing the Upper Iowa Conference to take Decorah just because of its geography. Yeah. And if they do that, there's no reason why, they don't keep Decorah and New Hampton and Crestwood, and even Southwind. Turkey's getting smaller, but West Union, and they have a bigger school. Everybody's saying the WAMAC for Turkey, not for Turkey, but for Decorah. But you look at Waverly, and the WAMAC includes Central DeWitt. I mean, you go Central DeWitt to Waverly.
That's a drive, isn't it?
Yeah, it's certainly a drive. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I think you're right, though. I think that eventually the state probably does force Decorah into the Upper Iowa Conference, and I think they probably will have to go to some sort of system where there's sort of the big schools and the small schools, and very little crossover probably in there, but. I don't know. We'll wait and see, I suppose, on how that's going to play out. It's an interesting one.
It is. Well, let's get to why we brought you here tonight, Taylor. First, let's talk boys basketball. Dale's got a little skin in the game with his grandson Nathan at Hudson. Have you seen the Hudson boys?
Yes, I saw Hudson as we record this. I saw them last night against Dunkerton, and Hudson, man, they're very good. Sean Leonard, the head coach, he's actually one of my buddies. He's done color with me for baseball and for basketball and for a couple of different sports there. But the Hudson team. It's interesting because they don't have like a 6'7" kid necessarily, but they're all very long and they're active on defense. They force turnovers. They get going back the other way. And last night against Decorah, they absolutely caught fire. Or against Dunkerton, I should say, they caught fire in the first quarter. I have not seen many quarters like that. They put up 33 points in the first quarter, hit 9 3-pointers. It was remarkable, and they're one of those teams I think that once they get going, it's hard to turn them off. Yeah.
Is that what they had? Was 9 3-pointers that first quarter?
Yeah, I was wondering. I didn't keep track, but I knew it was a lot of them. So,
and in fact, it was 33-3 at the end of the first quarter, and they. don't want to say they took their foot off the pedal necessarily, but they slowed down after that first quarter. In fact, I don't think they even hit a 3-pointer the rest of the way. But they had such a big lead, it just didn't matter.
Well,
too
one
much.
of the Dunkerton coaches was telling my wife that actually Dunkerton outscored them the second half.
They did, yeah. The final 3 quarters, in fact, Dunkerton won 32-30, but that's of course not how the game works.
Yeah. No, because Dunkerton, they have a good history for basketball, and they have had a wonderful year this year. So I was really surprised that they.
Yeah, I mean, Dunkerton came in 17-2 on the year, and their only losses. There was a controversial loss to Denver that I did earlier this year, which was a great game, but there was a foul called right at the end of the game with zeros on the clock, in fact, and the Denver kid, Keaton Rothmeyer's his name, stepped up, hit a couple of free throws to win it for Denver, to Keaton on that, but it was a controversial foul call.
Sure.
I mean, so I'm sure Dunkerton people feel a little hard done by on that, and then they had a game where they just didn't play well against Waterloo Christian. Waterloo Christian beat them, and I think it was, if I remember correctly, I'm not sure that I've got this stat exactly right, but I think it was like the first time in like 3 or 4 years that Dunkerton had lost an Iowa Star Conference game. So they've
something
been,
like that.
Yeah, they've been very, very good this year.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful game when the ball goes in the basket.
Yeah.
And Dunkerton, and Dunkerton had missed 4-footers, early in that game, and they would have been in the game, and like you said, they shot lights out that quarter. It has to be close to a state record, 9 threes in a quarter.
Yeah, I don't know, but that seems like a lot to me.
Yeah. It was certainly remarkable. I mean, it was sort of a tale of 2 different stories, as you sort of pointed out.
Yeah.
I mean, Hudson couldn't miss, and Dunkerton could not get anything to fall.
Yeah, and it was amazing. Well, not amazing because I expected, but when Davis went out with the 2 fouls right away, and he's their big scorer almost every game. But the rest of them took right over, and it was no problem. They got a lot of kids that can put the ball in the basket.
They do indeed. Yeah, Camden Davis is a great player, by the way. He finished with 11 points last night, had a couple of dunks, which were very impressive.
Yeah,
he's a heck of a player. But yeah, I mean, that's the other thing. Like, if you're Dunkerton, you get Camden Davis in foul trouble, you're feeling pretty good about yourself. Yeah. But that's just not the way that it went.
I saw a couple of, I'm sure they were coaches from KWAY.
Yeah,
they were big guys and had the coach sweatshirt on.
Yeah,
and they were talking with Leonard after the game. So I'm sure they probably were there looking at Davis. Davis probably thinking, well, a lot of games I scored 25, 26 points, and today I've held 11. And that's when they come, So that's the way it works sometimes. But hopefully they saw something they liked. I was at senior night, and they read a little thing about him, and he had indicated on that he wanted to go to a 4-year school and he wanted to play basketball. He did not name a school.
Yeah.
And so I thought there are probably people still looking at him.
Yeah, my guess is he's got some options.
I would think a small college could use a kid like that.
Yeah, I think so.
Taylor, I need to pay you a compliment. I love how you, not only when you broadcast, but in your social media, you're always talking about players and always mentioning players, and you do a good job of talking about the kids, and that's the important part, especially high school basketball. It's important for those kids to be recognized not only by their friends but their grandparents and their parents. And I know you also offer the game for them to listen to after as well. Yeah, and I appreciate you mentioning that. But I mean, that's, for me, I think that's one of my favorite parts about the job is that I'm able to do a couple of things. I broadcast the game so that these kids' family, the grandparents, their aunts, their uncles, their friends, and it could be, we've got an app and you can listen online, so you can listen just about anywhere to us. And the fact that I'm able to allow those family members to listen in to these games it brings me quite a bit of joy. I really like that, and I also like to be able to just sort of share the stories of these kids, because I feel like our kids are pretty darn remarkable. They're doing great things, and I'm super excited and super happy to be able to tell at least this little part of their story and get that out there however I can.
Yeah. Well, that's very nice.
Yeah. Thank you.
So before we finish the boys side of things, Who's the best boys team besides obviously Hudson last night? Who's the best boys team that you've seen this year?
Yeah, I mean Hudson probably is the best boys team that I've seen, to be quite honest with you, and probably after that it might be Dunkerton. I mean, I think Dunkerton's a very good squad. Now they've got a little bit of a tough draw in the postseason, so I'm not sure that they're going to be able to get back to the state tournament. Now they're the top seed in their district, but they play Bellevue Marquette is the team that they would likely run into in a sub-state, and I think Bellevue Marquette is number 1, or they have been up there throughout this season. So it's going to be tough. I think maybe they could put together a run. I would not be utterly shocked if they got back to the state tournament. They're pretty darn good team. And there's a couple of others that come to mind too. Denver is. A team, we talked about how they beat Dunkerton earlier by a single point. They're a team that can score with anybody, and if they can avoid that tough shooting night, they're pretty tough. They're pretty tough to beat as well. And then the other team that jumps to my mind as well that I've seen this year, and they've got quite a bit of history behind them as well, is Applington Parkersburg. Now we don't cover Applington Parkersburg necessarily, but I see them a lot because the teams that we do cover play Applington Parkersburg, and they're an interesting team because they're very small. I don't think they have anybody over 6'2". I think that's as tall as they go. But Aaron Thomas, their head coach, fantastic, and he just knows how to get them to play a way that's going to make them successful. And so I think they're a pretty good team as well. And I've not seen them play this year, but Waverly Shell Rock we of course cover. They have been outstandingly well. I think they've got 4 kids right now that are shooting right around 50% from beyond the arc. From beyond the arc, they're shooting 50. It's remarkable. They lost their first 2 games of the year and have won 16 since. So they're pretty darn good.
I have seen them play. Well, it was in the summertime, but they were very good. And that Thomas boy at Applington Parkersburg, he's been playing with a broken hand.
Yeah,
he was out for several games, and now he's playing when it's all bandaged up and everything. You can tell he favors it a little bit. He's dribbling with it and shooting with it.
Yeah, Gavin Thomas
doing all right.
He's very good.
Scored 21 points or so the other night. With a broken hand. So
I'm sure most people probably know this, but for those who don't, Aaron Thomas is Ed Thomas's son, and Gavin, of course, is Ed's grandson.
Yeah.
So,
Well, let's go to the girls. Let's go to girls basketball. That's been my passion for a lot of years. Before we go on, here you go, gentlemen. 13 years ago on this day, can you tell me what happened?
Okay. Subtract for me. What year was that?
That would have been, this is
2011, something like that.
11, thank you. 2011.
Yeah. What happened in 2011 on this day? Yes, I will not remember. Right?
I think I'm pretty sure I know what the answer is.
Go ahead.
Well, there was a pretty darn good girls basketball game between Gladbrook Rhinebeck and West Marshall. I believe. They you probably know I set a record for points scored in that game. I think, didn't they?
They did. Do you remember the final?
I don't remember what the final was, but it's darn impressive. I'll let you share that part.
It was the final score in double overtime.
5-on-5.
5-on-5. Was 122 to 118.
Okay.
And I can remember. I was sitting in the northwest corner of the Gladbrook Rhinebeck gym in the upper bleacher, and sat and watched the entire game. And I was texting a friend, and at the end of regulation, it was 100 to 100.
Man,
and it was remarkable. It was the greatest high school game I've ever watched, and I've been around a lot of boys and girls basketball for 40 years, and that was just remarkable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's a lot of points.
Yeah. It was, and there was a lot of defense played, believe it or not. It doesn't seem like it, but it was at 90 feet. It wasn't at 20 feet. It was at 90 feet.
Not many rebounds in that game, I bet.
No.
No, I'm originally from Tama, which is in the same county, barely, as Gladbrook Rhinebeck, and my dad, and so we pay attention to the schools that are in the same county, and I remember my dad calling me to talk about that game and just how remarkable it was. I had friends that were talking to me about it. Like, did you hear what happened? Did you see this score? Can you even imagine this happening? Yeah, it was crazy. I mean, it was definitely the talk of the county back then, for sure, at the very least. Yeah.
It was. I remember talking to Gary Rima about it when he was doing his sports show on KXL.
Yeah.
I can remember talking to him about it. It was, and he had it on his show. It was popular. So let's go to the girls' side of things. Who are some of the best players you've seen in the area?
Sure, and I'm gonna use my phone here. I wrote up a list about of this because I was thinking about it, and there's been a bunch of girls that I've seen that have been really, really impressive to me this year, and I wanted to make sure that I didn't miss any of them. But I'm going to start with Isabel Elliott. She's at Sumner Fredericksburg. She's 6'2". She's a post player. She is going to UNI to play volleyball. She's a heck of an athlete. She's absurdly nice, and she's got this great soft touch. She's got this little turnaround jumper from about the block a little bit further out, and she just has, a lot of girls, they'll throw it up there and just hammer it off of the backboard. She's got this just very soft touch. It's beautiful. It's beautiful to watch, and she's also a very good rebounder at 6'2", having volleyball skills where she can jump off of the ground. She'll go get an offensive rebound and put it back up and in. She's very impressive.
She was second team All-State last year, and it'd be interesting now. It is hard, and I think right now Sumner Fred is probably about 13-8 right there, right in there,
something like that.
12-9, right in there. If they were 18-3, something like that, she'd
makes
be
all the difference.
She'd be in the running for two-way player of the year.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right. And Sumner Fred had an injury before the season, in fact, to Sayla Steggy, who is a heck of a guard, a heck of a shooter. And I think if they had her, I think that would have really benefited Isabel as well. So it's too bad that happened. But yeah, even without Sayla, Isabel has been fantastic. For sure.
Yeah. So who else have you got? Go.
Also, I got Sophia Keys. She's at Waterloo Columbus. She's a sophomore, and she is maybe the most talented, just pure talent kid that I've seen, and she's done a lot of very nice things. But I think she in the next 2 years is going to get more aggressive, and as she does, I think she's going to get even better. And more of a terror to other teams. She handles the ball extremely well. Feels like she can get to the rim whenever she wants to. She's a very, very talented player there.
I saw them play Wapsie at Columbus, and she had 12 or 14. Wapsie got them at Columbus. And Columbus is pretty handy. They I believe it's Corey, correct? Corey's still doing it.
Yeah,
and he's got two daughters playing. He's got I'm trying to think of the girl's name that just got her 600th rebound.
Yeah, they've got two. Morgan Bradley is one. She's just gone over 1,000-point mark and has gone over the 600 rebound mark. She's a very good player as well. And then Natalie Steele, she's got about 630 rebounds by now, which it's really impressive for both of them because they're both about 5'9". And they've got over 600 rebounds, and Morgan's got over 1,000 points. It's really impressive. They're a team that their record I don't think is indicative of how good they are.
Right.
Now they've got a tough draw in the postseason too. If they win their first game, I think against Postville, which I would expect them to win, they then get to take on Dike New Hartford, who's the number one team in the state and has been for years.
They are very good.
Yeah. And so that's a little bit too bad because I think they're the type of team that could have surprised a lot of teams.
I see. Speaking of Dike New Hartford, I see Bruce Dow was selected as Iowa's nominee for girls basketball coach of the year.
Yeah.
Now that will go to, I think, the National Federation chooses that coach. So,
and he's a great guy.
Yeah.
He's a great guy, very much deserving of that too. And I've got three Dike New Hartford girls on my team, of course, are on my list here. The Peterson girls, Peyton Peterson and Jaden Peterson, the twins. They're fantastic.
Yeah.
And Jaden is the less gifted, I suppose, physically of the two, but I tell you what, she's tenacious. She'll go get a rebound and is certainly a key part of that team. And then Marin Bixby also on that team. She's a 6'1"-ish, 6'2", something like that. I mean, she's super long. She's a great shooter, and then they put her at the top of their zone, and she just is so disruptive. She's a heck of a player for Dike New Hartford as well.
well, and you know, this is hard for me to say because the help me out, the taller of the two Peterson girls,
Peyton Peterson,
was just at one of the national All-Star games for volleyball. But I would say maybe your sister might be the better athlete.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, Peyton is she's a heck of an athlete. She's really, really good. She's going to Louisville to play volleyball. She's been all state in both volleyball and basketball. I think all 4 years. I can't imagine that there was one that she missed. I mean, she's very, very talented. And Jaden is as well, but she's not quite as tall.
Right.
But she's a great athlete in her own right. And the crazy thing about that family, Bobby Peterson, of course, the head volleyball coach at UNI, is their mom. And these two, Peyton and Jaden, are the second set of twins that she's had. And the first two were D1 volleyball players.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So is there any more coming, or
I don't know. I think this is it. But
they've been there forever.
You might as well keep going, I suppose, if you've had this kind of success.
So I know you do a lot of dunk games as well, Dunkerton games. They're local for us. So we have a few listeners over at Dunkerton. Let's talk about them.
Absolutely.
They've had a nice year. They're 18-3, is that
something
right?
Something like that. Yeah.
17-4, right in there.
Yeah. Yep. And they had one. They had one something like 12 in a row, I think, or 13 in a row. They're young. Kylie Pexa, I've also got on my list. She's just a freshman, and she looks like she could be something pretty special for Dunkerton. And she's just a freshman. There's another freshman, Ava Fueling is her name, and she's a very good shooter. She's not real tall. She's only probably about 5'3", something like that. But she's a very good shooter. If you leave her open, she's going to hit that shot. Mm-hmm. And then they've got some height as well. Haley Kipp is a sophomore. She's a 6-footer. And she's quite talented. They have got Fetkeather, Daisy Fetkeather. She's defensively. She might be one of the best defensive players in the area. And there's a game that I was doing earlier this year of Dunkerton's where Daisy got a steal. And she had a run out wide open layup, and there she had a teammate behind her. I don't remember who it was, and she stopped and handed it off to her teammate to get the basket. Yeah.
And a Smith girl, the senior girl, has been good for years.
Peyton Smith. Yeah. She's been very good, and she's very strong down in the low post, and she's a very nice kid as well, an excellent piece, and she's a very good softball player too. I mean, hits absolute bombs on the softball field, but she's an excellent piece, and that's the thing. Like, you've got this very young team for Dunkerton, a bunch of freshmen and sophomores, but having her as a senior who's even gone through some seasons that weren't particularly good, but having that experience on the team is pretty crucial, I think, to their success.
You know, we used to talk when we'd have younger kids, you know, and have one or two older kids. You know, everybody would say, "Oh, they're going to be really good in 2 or 3 years."
Yeah.
You know, and we would always talk to the young kids about, you know, for example, Peyton. Peyton's not going to be around in 2 or 3 years. We got to be good now for Peyton. You know, and that. It's important those kids realize that, and they got a good coaching staff there. I like those people. Yeah, they're nice people, and they do a nice job of teaching the game.
Yeah, they're fantastic. Yeah, I think Dunkerton's got a good thing going over there.
And we talked about this, Dale and I did last night. Basketball is a big deal in Dunkerton.
It is.
You know, it doesn't matter if it's boys or girls.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And I love going over there because, I mean, the crowd seems to be anyway kind of on a different level. I mean, there's usually it's a pretty large crowd for the basketball games, but also like their knowledge of basketball seems to be just a tick higher than a lot of other places. I mean,
they know more than all the rereferees.
It's certainly that is definitely true. That is definitely true. No, they're passionate about their basketball and good for them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The tough job to be a referee. You know, there's a reason why there's a shortage. People like me think I know more than they do. That's the problem. You know. Let's talk Denver. Denver's just a skip away from Waverly.
Sure.
And I know you've done Denver a number of times.
Yeah.
Denver's got a Johnson girl that's young, and they've got one of they've got Kyle's daughter, the boys basketball coach.
Yeah,
tell us about them a little bit.
Sure, yeah. Channing Johnson is the Johnson that you're referring to. She's just a sophomore. She had something happen that doesn't happen all that much. She came into high school, was probably 5'6", 5'7", something like that. She's now 5'10", so that's helpful. That's helpful. And she's got an older sister who set some records, both in the volleyball court and on the basketball court. And Channing has broken just about all of them already as just a sophomore. So she's very good, and she's this year developed. She's always been a fine shooter, but now she has taken that up a notch. And every time she shoots the ball, you feel like it's going in, and that's been key. And Joe Frost, the head coach for Denver, he's talked a lot about how their defense and sort of their focus on defense has really helped them grow and become a much better team this year. And Channing's certainly very good on the defensive side of things as well, getting steals and getting easy buckets to get their offense going. And you mentioned Macy Mathias, that's Kyle Mathias' daughter, Kyle Mathias, the head boys coach. Macy has had an interesting career too, because she started her career as a very good three-point shooter. I mean, she had a great percentage. I don't know exactly what it was, but it was very good at the very start of her freshman season, I think. And then her sophomore and junior years, she just didn't shoot the ball particularly well. And she's had some struggles a little bit this year too, but she has later in this season really started to shoot the ball a whole lot better, and that makes Denver pretty darn dangerous, especially if Channing's hitting and if Macy's hitting as well. And Macy's also been handling a lot of the sort of the point guard role. Now they've got about 3 girls that can run the point for them if they need to, but Macy, who is probably about 5'10", something like that, and so she's got some height to see over the defense a little bit, especially if there's a press on, and she can handle the rock just fine. And I think that's been a big move for the Cyclones as well. And they've got a girl down low too in Miley Thurm. She's a sophomore. She's a 6-footer. And last year she was in there, and she did some nice things. She took up some space, which is a good thing. But now she's really taken that jump. And I've talked to Joe certainly about it, Joe Frost, but also I've talked to a lot of opposing coaches, and almost to a T, they all say, boy, Miley Thurm's gotten a whole lot better from that freshman year that sophomore year, and you can tell that she's not done just yet. Like, it feels like in the next couple of years, she's really going to be a beast down low for Denver.
Yeah, I may be mistaken here as I talk about this. For sure, I know that the Johnson's girls' mother went with us to Russia on a basketball trip. Would have been back in the late '80s.
Really?
I'm not sure if that Therm girl's aunt or not. There's enough Therms over there that I get confused sometimes. But Amy Therm went with us to Russia one year, and I'm not sure if she's her aunt or not.
I'm not sure either. And you're right. There are a couple of Therms over there. So I won't even try to venture a guess.
One of the local schools would end up in Des Moines. Will the state people allow you to come down and broadcast, or?
Yeah. Oh yeah. If a team that we cover at KWAY gets down there, I mean, we have to pay to do so, obviously. Sure, but yeah, I've gotten to call quite a few state tournament games or matches or whatever the case may be.
And you don't need a lot of equipment, do you? Just like plug in a phone or something?
Well, yeah. So we've got a. It's hard to explain, but we've got a box and we plug in our headsets into the back of that box, and we've got a cord that plugs into a phone, and we basically just have an app on our phone that connects us back to.
So you don't have a truck
station
outside the stadium with electronic gear and everything. I think it's so interesting. I've seen radio guys show up at the game and they just seem like they plug in a little box and there they go. So
carry it in a suitcase. Usually the people at the taking tickets or whatever, they'll ask if I'm staying the night.
The joke that never gets old. I guess.
Let's talk the local girls. Have you called any Jesup games this year?
I've not been able to see any Jesup games so far this year. I've done some Jesup games, obviously, in the past, and they're always well coached and enjoyable games. I can tell you that.
Right. Some of their players are the Bowes girls. Their Peyton is a junior, and then there's a pair of twins that are sophomores that play for them. A senior girl, Adrian Bolden, has had a great year, maybe the most improved player that I've seen this year from last year to this year. Sage Bain, Dusty's daughter, one of the chiropractors here in town, is having a nice year, and Olivia Nesbitt, she's about 6 foot, 6'1". Plays facing the basket a lot, although she'll post up, but she'd rather face the basket. And they're having a nice year. They are in the same bracket as Columbus and Dyke New Hartford. I believe if they were to make it to the final, it would be not the district final. It would be the what did the girls call it? The regional. Final.
Yeah.
It would be Dyke that they would face come from the other side.
Right.
And Dyke got after them last night here at Jesup pretty handily. Dyke gets after everybody pretty handily.
Yeah, I've seen them play twice, and they had no trouble. They just score at will.
Yeah, Dyke New Hartford, they've got 2 losses on the year, one to Solon and one to North Polk, who are, I think, Solon's 3A and North Polk's 4A, something like that. They're darn good.
Yeah. Now the best teams that I've seen this year are obviously not in your area. Mount Vernon. I watched Mount Vernon play Solon.
Yeah.
Mount Vernon beat them that night at Solon. And then Dyke New Hartford, obviously. Yeah. But obviously Solon's really good. And North Lynn is very handy. Yeah. I saw them on television. I didn't get to see them live this year. And Iowa City Regina is real good. Everybody tells me, and the coach texts me a lot. Or DMs me a lot to come and watch them, and I haven't. Maquoketa is just too far away for my bedtime.
Yeah.
It is a long way to Maquoketa.
It is.
I mean, there's just no easy way to get there. I don't think.
So who are the best teams that in girls basketball that you've seen?
Yeah, Dyke New Hartford certainly is the best girls team that I've seen for sure. AP Appleton Parkersburg is also pretty darn good. But I would definitely put Dunkerton and Denver right in that group as well. Again, I've not seen Waverly Shell Rock play, but I do know a fair bit about the GoHawks. They've had an excellent season. They're undefeated on the year. They have got a couple of very good players. Caitlin Egena is a 6'1", 6'2", somewhere in that range. She's headed to Western Illinois to play at the next level. She's very, very good. And in fact, her sister, her older sister, played at Denver. So Denver fans may be a little bit salty that they didn't also get her,
right.
but she's been very good for Waverly Shell Rock. And Brenda Bodensteiner is a sharpshooter. Yeah. It's Greg Bodensteiner, the head head girls coach for Waverly Shock, and the athletic director. It's his daughter. Mm-hmm. And Brenna has just announced that she's going to go to Wartburg and play basketball and golf there, and I think she'll do very well at both of those. But Waverly Shock I think is ranked number 2 if I remember correctly in Class 4A. And so they're pretty. They certainly probably, even though I have not actually seen them this year, I think I probably would put them on my list as well.
And back to Dunkerton. Dunkerton could make it logistically to the regional final. On the other side of the regional final sits reigning state champion Algona Garrigan.
Yeah.
Bishop Garrigan, coached by Brandon Schwab, and they surprised a lot of people. They are 19-2 right now, I believe, after losing Audra Cooks to Iowa State and Molly Joyce down to Truman.
Yeah.
And there they sit again at 19-2.
It's remarkable because I mean I think people maybe didn't appreciate the Joyce girl as much as maybe they should have. Mm-hmm. She was a really good player, but obviously when you're playing with Crooks, she's gonna get the most of the attention. But yeah, they lose. I mean, those are 2 big time talents.
Oh, it is.
And to be able to still be as good as they have been this year is pretty darn remarkable.
It is. And speaking of Coach Schwab, I see that his son had either 7 or 8 threes last night.
Yeah,
and he's either a freshman or sophomore.
Wow.
He was on the 8-man state championship team for Algona Garrigan, the football team.
Sure. Yeah.
So, Taylor, you've been more than kind, and I look at Blake, and he's trying to cut us off over here. Thank you so much for coming in.
It was very interesting.
That was a ton of fun. I absolutely love that. That was great. It was great. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. We'll have to have you again. Maybe once the baseball season starts, to let you and Dale talk baseball all night long. That'd
absolutely.
Be fun. Yeah. So thank you so much.
Now I have to get out and watch some games now. So.
Yeah. This is the Steve Brown Arts Center Podcast Network. I'm Jim Gillespie with Dale Rueber. And this week's library news. First, Dale has a special announcement about the library.
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago I talked about Tony Thompson, the sheriff of Blackhawk County, and how he's written a book called Any Place But Here about the trouble with so many jails having to house people who are not criminals but are having mental difficulty. And he has written a book, and I have a copy of the book at home that I'm reading, and there is a copy in the library now. And he is going to be at the library on February 22nd at 6:30 to talk about his book and also to have books available for the public if they would like one. And it's not a long read, but it's a very, very interesting and very important topic about the problems our country is having with people with mental illness, and there's no place for them to go and nothing anybody's doing to help them, and they end up in jail where they do not belong. And so he has written, I think, a very important book. So it's February 22nd at 6:30 at the library in Jesup. And the book's called Any Place But Here. And there are, I know, at least one copy at the library. And he will be bringing copies with him also. So
awesome.
That would be a good guy. I know I really want to go hear him talk.
What day is that? That's
February 22nd at 6:30.
That
What
would
day
be,
is that, Blake? The 14th. It'd be a Thursday.
It'd be a Thursday.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Other library news, don't forget the Little Tot Story Time that meets every Thursday at 10:30 a.m. for song, stories, and more. The Spice Club, February Spice, Star Anise, I believe is how you pronounce that.
Yeah. Anise, I think.
Yeah. Star Anise. Pick up your sample and recipes to try it out. Try it at the Jesup Public Library. Exercise with friends every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 8 a.m. in the library community room. They exercise between 45 minutes and 60 minutes. Don't forget every STEM Wednesday.
I was just thinking, if we pronounce that spice wrong, we should look that up. And somehow I don't think that sounds right. But,
Okay, all
Blake,
right.
are you doing anything?
If we did, we could be butchered here.
I mean, really. It's just-
Two teachers.
It just doesn't sound right. So.
Okay, I understand.
Yeah.
Easy, you hormones out there, be careful now. As a STEM Wednesday, in partnership with the Buchanan County ISU Extension and Outreach, we invite kids ages kindergarten through 4th grade to enjoy an afternoon of STEM activities. That's Wednesday, February 7th at 1:30 p.m. in the community room. Pre-registration is required. Books and Brews Club is Monday, February 12th at 6:30. The One True Loves is the name of the book by Taylor Jenkins Reid. They meet at the Allerton Brewery for a lively discussion. Okay? And don't forget the book club. The February book is The Nature of Fragile Things by Susan Meisner. Is available to pick up in the library. The book club will meet Monday, February 19th at 1 p.m. So if Whalen is a young Irish immigrant desperate to get out of New York tenement that she answers a mail-order bride ad and agrees to marry a man she knows nothing about. A lot of people would argue what I say is
appropriate or not?
Is appropriate,
Yeah.
yeah. There's a seed swap. Oh, it's that time of year for a seed swap.
Yep.
9 Square Feet is a 501c3 community organization with a mission to help Iowans grow some of their own food. The JPL is proud to host this event Saturday, February 24th at 10 o'clock. Up to 5 free seed packets are offered to every adult child. Join us for the fun. Movie Monday, The Miracle Club. There's just one dream for the woman of Ballygard to taste freedom to win a pilgrimage to the sacred French town of Lourdes with a little benevolent interference with a local priest. A group of close friends get their ticket of a lifetime. Admissions include popcorn and water, and it is free. Rated PG-13. The movie runs 1 hour and 31 minutes. A late message. Pizza puzzle and guzzle full.
Okay, I'm
full.
glad to hear that.
Yes.
Pizza puzzle
Pizza, puzzle, and guzzle.
and guzzle.
So they have beer. You could get, what you do is you get a team together. You come down to co-work 591.
Yeah.
Your team works on the puzzle together. In the meantime, you're eating pizza and you're drinking beer. They closed it before I could get in, Dale, which was probably a good thing.
Yeah. Well, it sounds interesting.
It does.
Yeah, so-
It does.
Do you think we could come and observe? Or?
Well, we might be able to storm the gates. They gather a team of 4 to compete to be the first to finish a puzzle, a large pizza, and 12 adult beverages. I don't know if you have to race to finish the 12 adult beverages or not.
What you need is one designated drinker, and the rest work on the puzzle.
Oh, that'd be a lot of sickness, Dale. I don't think Kelly wants that in co-work. We're happy to share that the Jesup High School yearbooks are now digital.
Is that right?
Yep. Go to the Jesup Public Library website, scroll down and click on Community Archives, click on Jesup Community School Yearbooks, and start searching and exploring. So tip, change all the words to the exact phrase when searching first and last names together. For example, Jesup, Iowa, a yearbooks, blast from the past, memory lane at the library. Hashtags on all of them. Don't forget Dolly Parton's Imagination Library. We do that here at Jesup for children 0 to 5 years old. A new age-appropriate book will be mailed to your child every month, 8 to 10 weeks after enrollment until they turn. Online enrollment can be found at Imagination Library. The Friends of the Jesup Public Library pay $2.10 for each book. That's a $25 book per child for one book per month for a whole year. That's a great opportunity.
Yep.
Don't forget the Velvet Coffee Company sells the Bookworm Blend Coffee at the Jesup Public Library. Coffee for a Cause. There's also 1,000 Books Before Kindergarten list to take care of. It's amazing how many young little kids are in there reading and getting their parents are getting the books.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, it is. Our library is so good. You can leave money for an endowment to the public library if you want to, and there's also an opportunity if you need the community room to use that as well. We're so very fortunate to have our library. Dale, so you're on the board, correct, of the library?
No, I'm a past member.
You're a past member of the board.
No, they do 6-year terms, and you do 2 terms, and then you're done.
Okay.
And so I did 12 years, but I've been off for several years now.
Did you enjoy that?
Yeah, I did. It's a good way to help, and also you get, I don't say possessive, but any laws or people that try to do things you think are hurting the library, you bristle right up. You become a real protector of the library, and I think that's a good thing, because the laws concerning how a library is governed are they're in the Iowa Code, and there has to be a board of directors, and the board of directors can do so many things. Then some things are given to the city to be in charge of, and I don't remember all of it anymore, but sometimes you have to walk kind of carefully. There's a fine line there about what you can do. And of course, finances are always a big, I know we talked with the mayor, there was a library levy, and when I was on the board, we worked hard to get that passed. It's a vote of the people, whether or not they wanted to increase their property taxes X amount, with that money being extra money that went to the library. People voted for it, and so it's been just part of the library's budget the last several years, and now Republican legislatures, and I don't know if they've done it yet or if they're working to do it, we're saying those levies are no longer going to be allowed. My thing is, if the people of Jesup wanted to pay a little extra to help have a better library, that's their business, but they're very anti-tax. I think the best tax in the world would be the one where the people themselves voted it against themselves rather than the people in Des Moines deciding. Anyway, that was kind of disappointing to hear that news the last year or so. No, it was very interesting, and I would advise anyone, if you get asked to be on the library board, or if you'd like to just tell them that you're interested in it when openings come up, I think you would enjoy the experience very much.
Thank you. This is Steve Brown Arts Center Podcast Network. We have one obituary for the week. White Funeral Home is kind enough to allow us to use their website to tell you. Carolyn Mom Harkin, 84 of Jesup, died Monday, February 5th at her home following a sudden illness. Carolyn Jean Mumm was born January 8, 1939 in rural Ainsworth, Iowa, the daughter of Barclay William Mumm and Gertrude Eva Bell Mumm. Carolyn attended school in Williamsburg until her family moved to rural Independence when she was a freshman. She graduated from Jesup High School with a class of 1957. On August 23, 1958, she was united marriage to Merle D. Butch Hark. He preceded her in death on March 4th, 1996. She married Dale Hackwell in 2000, and they have made their home in Jesup. Carolyn is survived by a husband, Dale Hackwell of Jesup, one daughter, Deb Jacobs of Independence, one grandson, Nicholas Jacobs of Winthrop, one brother, Donald Mumm of Independence, two sisters-in-law, Joyce Mumm of Plymouth, Karen Mulnix of Independence, Iowa, and many nieces and nephews. She's also survived by her stepchildren, Sherry Fairguard of Hudson, Pamela Hackwell of Waterloo, Iowa, Dale Hackwell Jr. of Washburn, as well as step-grandchildren and step-great-grandchildren. She was preceded in death by her parents, her first husband Merle, two brothers, Leroy Mumm and Ronald Mumm, one stepchild, Kim Hoppock, and one step-grandchild, Jimmy Dale Hoppett. Memorials may be directed to the Jesup Ambulance Association, Jesup American Legion, Post 342, or to the Independence American Flag Fund established in Bank, Iowa. Condolences may be placed at whitemounthope.com. White Funeral Home of Jesup is in charge of those arrangements. This is the Steve Brown Arts Center podcast. Announcements do we have at the Arts Center here?
Well, and I have one city announcement. There's a Farmers Day. We're looking at Civil War activities, and it was interesting. We contacted some people. They used to do Civil War reenactments. They'd have reenactors, and the guy wrote back and said, the people have gotten older now, and so there's very, very few reenactors. That most of them that are still interested in the Civil War will come, and they will set up encampments and have displays and that sort of thing, rather than run around in the heat. And so it's sort of like a lot of organizations, as the members get older, they don't get replaced by younger people, and so they have to change the way they do things. So anyway, we're looking at what we want is that these places would be available. They'd set up a campsite of some kind. There would not be shows or anything. It would just be available almost 24 hours a day for people to walk through and talk to them and this sort of thing. So that's kind of what we're looking for. So it's all tentative right now, but that's where we're headed if it works out. Steve Brown Arts Center schedule of events the next few weeks. We've been talking about Ken Milhow at Winding Creek Meadows on February 17th. From 2 to 4 is an art showing, and some of his work is up almost all the time over there, but there's a lot of other things that we could look at, and he's going to have a showing from 2 to 4. I think you'll be surprised at how well he does. It's just some of that stuff is really, really good. March 16th, there's going to be a St. Patrick's Day Parade and the Irish Blue Drifters Trio at the Sanity Room, and that's from 7 to 10. Is that a Saturday? Or?
That's Saturday,
That's Saturday, March 16th. And that date is very familiar for some reason. April 14th, we have a mystery artist. Now, they play with some over their head or anything, or no just okay.
It will be one of the first artists of their type to be in our area. A very well-known artist in our area's granddaughter actually has become very famous, and if you watch Facebook, you will see her art on there quite often.
All right.
But we are going to show her art at the Littleton Chatham Historical Society in April.
April 14th, and the times will be announced. I'm sure it'll be a morning kind of thing.
Yes,
I think so.
Yes.
But they don't have a set time yet. So, yeah, that'll be interesting. Isn't there a show now where they in their masks or something, and then they try to guess who they are?
Oh, yeah.
Is that? I have never watched it, but I've seen it advertised. So
yeah.
And then you used to have, what was the show where, like the Gong Show or something, they had the guy with the bag of the comedian. I don't know. Okay.
I would have been really good on the Gong Show.
You really would have.
Yeah.
You'd have been the guy with the crook, right, pulling people off or something. Yeah. Okay. So the mystery art, that'll be fun just to kind of see who that is. So, all right. And that's at Littleton Chatham Historical Society, April 14th. So that's what we have coming up. And I see after that we'll have things in May. So that's looking good. We're in May already. So.
We're gonna make it, I think,
Yes.
Mr. Rueber.
Yes, we are.
I have one other thing before we close for tonight. I have Jim's 5 greatest ball movies.
Okay.
In honor of the Super Bowl yesterday.
Okay, let me guess. The one with Gale Sayers in it?
I won't tell you yet.
Oh, okay.
Here is the problem. It's hard to do good football movies. A lot of people argue there's not a good football movie. It's hard to do a good basketball movie. Probably White Men Can't Jump.
Yeah.
Might be the only good basketball. The Michael Jordan movies and those are more or less, you got to question whether they're basketball movies or not.
Yeah. Hoosiers, would you say that was a basketball?
Hoosiers, but again, the basketball was questionable in those.
Yeah, it looked like some of them had never played before.
Yeah.
And that's always the problem, is get people that can play basketball and act. Yeah.
Yeah. And I love Hoosiers, don't get me wrong.
No, I understand,
but here are my 5 best football movies.
Okay.
Off the list, OTL are Rudy. Jerry Maguire, North Dallas 40, The Undefeated, Friday Night Lights, and Silver Lining Playbook. Those are just off the list.
Okay.
The top 5 from 5 down. Blake, the sound effects, please. Number 5, Remember the Titans with
Denzel Washington.
Denzel Washington.
I saw that. That was a very good movie.
Very good movie. Number 5.
Okay.
Number 4, Any Given Sunday.
Okay, I didn't see that. I remember the title.
Oh, what is that actor's name? The actor that played the Rain Man.
Dustin Hoffman.
Dustin Hoffman was the head football coach in that.
Okay.
Was number 4. A surprise entry for number 3.
Okay.
With Adam Sandler in The Waterboy.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, a comedy. Again, the football wasn't very good, but it was a good movie. Number 2, Blindside.
Yeah, I saw that. I thought that was very good also.
Yeah, she won the lady in there. She won an Emmy for that movie. And number 1.
No, Emmy is TV shows. Oscars.
Yeah. Thank you. I always mix those up.
That's all right.
And number 1, and Dale, you were right. The Brian Piccolo.
Oh yeah.
And the
I couldn't remember the name, but
the movie Brian's Song.
Yeah, and that was a TV movie.
It
right?
was a
Made for
TV movie.
Yeah.
Gail Sayers was a character that played Gail Sayers. Brian Piccolo was the fullback, developed cancer. And it was in the fall when football would start every year, and every year I would cry when that came on. It wouldn't matter how many times you watch it, but that was the number 1 football movie of all time. So number 5, Remember the Titans. Number 4, Any Given Sunday. Number 3, Waterboy. Number 2, Blindside. Number 1, Brian's Song.
Okay, well, my favorite is not on there.
What's your favorite?
I can't remember the name. It's John Wayne and Donna Reed. And John Wayne is kind of a football. He's a football coach, and he's in trouble with all the different NCAA the kind of organizations. Well, he gets hired by a small Catholic church in the New York City area because they need money or they're going to close the school down. And they know nothing about football, so they hire him. And so he goes and gets his old coaches, and they start hiring players from all over. Some of them, part of the movie, they say, man, this is the biggest freshman class we ever had. But he hires them, and they all are part of the deal. School gets the gate receipts. They get everything else, the parking, the concessions or whatever, all of it against the rules, very much so in those days. And so they're making money. And so he schedules games against Notre Dame and other big schools like that, and they're going to pull in a fortune. Well, unfortunately, somebody figures it all out, and he gets caught and this sort of thing. And, of course, he ends up being a good guy and marrying the girl and that sort of thing. But it's a very interesting football movie because it really, in the 40s probably, talked about hypocrisy of college football and all this sort of thing, and how these kids were making nothing, cut the players in on the action, and they all were making money. And one of the lines, the coach said, "Well, I'm really in for this because for once I'd like to make more money than the players do." He's coaching college, and I can't remember the name of it. I'm sorry. Every now and then it's on Turner Classic Movies, and I get a kick out of it.
Very good one. Very good. Well, thank you, Dale. The Steve Brown Arts Center is a 501c3 nonprofit organization that has a vision for artists, young and old alike, to have the opportunity to better themselves while helping to build the skills of those around them. If you would like to donate to the Steve Brown Arts Center or have an idea for an event, or go to stevebrownartscenter.org and follow the link. Big news, big news, big news.
Oh, what is it?
We are on Instagram now, and we have 36 followers on Instagram.
All right.
Yes. Go to Instagram. I might even have to start following it. If you have any news or would like to sponsor us, email us at jim@stevebrownartscenter.org or call at 319-290-0241 and leave a message. Please tell your friends about Dale and Blake. You can lie and keep me out of it if you want to, but you want to make sure you talk about Dale and Blake on here. I'm Jim Gillespie with co-host Dale Rueber. Thanks to our producer Blake Tempus and Kelly C. Haas. Kelly, as always, is fantastic to us at KWAY 591 Studios. Thanks to the audience for bringing these stray dogs into your day. And remember, each day is about little victories.